gang, let's get cranking. There's a lot of dollars per hour of productivity sitting around in here. We don't want to, although we want to pick your brains, we want to get all the wealth that we can from you of knowledge. We want to get you back to doing what you do and feed your family as well. So, for starters, thank all of you so much for setting aside the time to come here. This is sort of like getting two storms in the same place at the same time to get all of these rainmakers in chairs in the front of this classroom all at one time. To be honest, I wasn't really sure we could pull that off, but thank you all for doing that. Any alibis, any excuses? Anybody know they're going to bomb immediately and just want to claim that up front? So left to right or right to left? How do we want to go?
Anne said she wanted to go first.
All right, wanted to get out of the way.
Okay, I'm Ann Ferguson. I have the Ozarks team over on the west side. I don't even know where I am. And if you don't know me, I'm very nervous in front of a group of people. I like threw up in the bathroom before. I was in my car shaking like a leaf. Yeah.
Which is amazing because she rocks a listing presentation like nobody's
It
business.
doesn't make me nervous, but this makes me. You guys don't like realize I'm nervous.
And so everybody in here knows what your production numbers look like, and we're all hanging out everywhere. Thank you for being here. Next up.
Tina Stowe. And I'm with Parker.
That's literally her claim to fame. That would be it.
That's all.
I would be right about it. You're who?
Bill Woods, Woods starter team.
I see. All right. And you hail from, you guys are kind of from all over.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. So I think of you as West Plains, but every time I see you, you're doing business over here.
In Arkansas. In Arkansas.
All right. Next up.
Part of that Birch Carter team.
I'm guessing the other. Got it. Next up. The best one on the panel.
I love it. I always wanted to do that. Everybody else but me. Karen Best, the best team. Also Karen Best, next with Branson, the best team, Keller Williams Tri-Lakes.
Oh my God.
And just launched the best team, Marco Island, Florida. Oh, yeah.
We'll go visit.
Everybody go to Florida. And I'll go work for you down there. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
One part of Florida.
Marco Island. So pretty. Which is it's on the west side, just before you get to the Everglades, the closest town to Key West.
The sunny part. That's a joke. You're not real. And the anchor to our squad this morning. Yeah.
Jerry Moore of the Jerry Moore Group. And that's what to say.
Perfect.
So comfortable.
So let's dive right in. So question number one is that somebody that's needing admitted up there? Nope, Sash doesn't turn up volume. We're all good. So let's start off. We'll start back over on the left side. We'll just get that out of the way for you. So of course, the theme of this morning's mastermind is out of the box lead generation. If you Google lead generation, of course, don't do that because you'll never have anything else in your Facebook feed again but lead gen. But if you do that, of course, they're the in the box things that come up, and most of us hopefully have read the MREA, and so we've got some of those. But as the markets shift, it's interesting to me that we'll have like these complete market shifts where everything changes: seller's market, buyer's market, nobody's market, and yet the same teams really produce about the same numbers all the time. They fluctuate a little bit with market. We're a couple people up there that'll go up and down between 40 and 50 million, but for the most time, the top producers are still the top producers, which means we're doing things either super consistently or super smart, maybe both. So I'm interested from a lead generation standpoint, how much of a typical workday is spent in actively lead generating for you? Well, let's have the truth.
All of us.
So you're going. My prediction is I've already got it written down. You're going to share something that I'm going to wrap back to that you're going to think is the great lesson and will end up being the best lesson we have. So I predicted that.
Okay.
Throw it out.
I don't do any lead gen. Sorry.
That wasn't quite what I thought you were going to put.
I know. I read your own questions and I was like, what am I going to say? Like, I just don't lead gen. But I talk to everybody everywhere I can. I got a problem.
So we're gonna make a circle and come back because that's actually something really, really important. That's that is a coaching piece that our newer folks are really gonna enjoy someday. Awesome. So next up, so how about you guys? Lead gen.
Kind of same situation where it actively lead gen is separate from like what you're saying, where your lead generation, you don't even realize that you're doing that, whether that's answering basic questions, but there's different formats to how I think of lead generation. There are, Parker will spend time calling back people that have registered on our site, setting up those communications to always be starting those lines of communication. Kind of part of it is after you do that for a while, those things are kind of coming back to you full circle. So you're not really seeing it as the lead generation that you used to do sit down cold calling as much as lead marketing and things that you put in place are bringing opportunities back to you, whether that's in your community or whether that's, in your website or your social media or those types of things. You're still generating. It's just not the typical definition, I think, that most people think of lead.
Oh, I heard that golfing. Okay, golfing.
That is not lead generation.
Yes, it is.
My motto is if you're awake and you've got clothes on, you're a lead generator.
That's right.
And in today's day, you can be lead generating in your underwear. That's
So if you're golfing, is that like a tax write-off? Lead gen?
Yeah, all the tournaments, I write them off. Yeah.
100%. Got it. Bill, how about you?
We spend probably hour or two a week. Basically, we're in the office, we're usually out and about. But, everybody's different. I know a guy named Jim Galligan, he goes into a bunker every morning. He calls it a bunker.
Yep.
And nobody comes in there or they're in the trouble.
Mm-hmm.
He spends 2 hours a day doing that. And he's very successful. But for a week, we don't know. We get around and talk to people we know. About people we know. That kind of thing. Well, we do again as much as contacts.
Okay. Well, so I'm gonna so I call these two Belinda, by the way. I think I'm saying so Linda, I'm gonna ask you to lean into that just a little bit. So if you're saying he's saying 2 to 3 hours a week, but mostly we're just talking to people that we know.
So
Tell me a little more about that.
yeah, so what he's referring to is actually sitting in the office making calls.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
When you have 10 properties to show in a day and you've got people calling your phone all day long, it's time and make calls. So most of the time we're not showing or listening or whatever, but if we're in the office and we have an office, so then we're trying to make calls.
Okay. And who are you calling?
Just usually our book of days. Just to check in on them.
Okay. I'm starting to see a theme here. This is going to be a very different answer. I predict. Karen, how about you?
Well, I don't know why you would say that. So the amount of time I'm in the office is usually 0. Amount of time I'm lead genning is from the minute my feet hit the floor until I go to bed, and sometimes even in bed I'm still lead genning. I will lead gen from a cruise ship because I am a walking billboard. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to have some kind of Keller Williams t-shirt on, vest on, something where people ask me, what is that? Especially with sports and entertainment. I will tell everybody I meet what I do. And so I'll be walking my neighborhood and I pick up listings walking my neighborhood just because people will stop me and say, I'm getting ready to list my house. Can you list my house? Every conversation I have, we try to go to lunch every day at a different restaurant in the community so that we can stop people. Where are you from? What are you doing? We sell real estate. If you need anything, we're here. We are a walking billboard 24/7, wherever we are. Doesn't matter if I'm in the middle of an ocean. On one cruise ship, I had a couple go with me. I walked them off the ship to the KW Aruba office, got them signed up, and did a referral in that KW office. And yes, I wrote the trip off because yes, I did real estate.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. I love that. And that's the answer I was expecting to have from you. That's a great spectrum there. Jerry, how about you?
So first I want to preface for the new agents in the room that the people that are sitting on this panel didn't get to this stage overnight.
Mhm.
They did all that stuff that we're going to talk about as far as lead gen and spending hours and hours on the phone calling people, as I did when I first started. So we didn't get here overnight. So don't expect it overnight. You have to build your business. But for me, lead gen does look different. So for me, it's serving in the community and my agent to agent referrals. That is my biggest book of business. Probably 75% of my business comes from that. Referrals from other agents.
Got it. Okay. So, and Jerry, as usual, about 3 steps out in front of you. So what we just heard, somebody in the crowd throw out there what you just heard about. You can summarize all those. What did you just do? Our interview.
You can be lead genning from the time you wake up until the time you go to bed.
But how many of them said from 10 to 12:30, I sit down and I'm on the phone and I'm knocking out prospecting. I'm sitting in my CRM. Nobody of them said that. How many of you have been in a coaching session of some kind with me where I said from 10 to 12:30, you need to sit down and be on the phone, right? 2 starkly different things. And what's the difference?
Well, they've been in it for a while, so that's something they've done in the start. They're telling us their experiences now. It's like Barry said in the beginning, gotta start somewhere, build something somewhere.
Yeah.
Just to get yourself comfortable in your.
And I never did that ever.
I think you're just doing it in a different way.
And the other thing to look at here is everybody here just gave you a different answer. Whatever it is that you do, it has to be authentic, right? We do business, we all do business differently because different things are important to us. So you can't necessarily, if you're an introvert, you're not going to go out there and be Karen like she does. Not that you can't be, but that's not going to be your first step in the process to that. But whatever it is that you do and enjoy and you incorporate and it's lead generating, you're not thinking that it is that it's authentic and it comes from who you are.
You just have to do something.
Right. Consistent.
You have to wake up every morning realizing you're unemployed today. And until you go out there and find business.
Bill?
You don't have a job.
And also when I first started though, I came from a management background, but I jumped in real estate in my first 2 weeks in, I thought, shit, I'm not getting paid today. And so when I did that, I went out and I picked a subdivision I really liked. Went out and knocked on every door in the subdivision, handed cards out, talked to people, started mailing letters. And also I mailed 5 letters, another training I went to said you got to send 5 letters every day and then you can call all your book of business. So I did that. Finally, I'm calling my business every day. Everybody I knew, finally somebody goes, I don't want to buy a house. I'm going, what? Yeah. And so there's work to learn. Yeah.
Okay.
The day going to do the phone. Remember that?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and Bill, the way you said it, like I wake up unemployed every day, I wanted to turn that to a positive thing. So my thought process for my drop monkey in my head was everybody else gets a paycheck once a week. Why should not? So I turned it around that I wanted something positive.
Yeah.
All that takes 52 closings a year.
That's right.
All right, so you started an interesting trend. Let's go back to our to the beginning here and talk about
Everybody
that.
else is so much more professional.
So,
Nobody makes as much money as you answer.
well, everybody in this room would trade sales numbers with you, with just a couple of exceptions. So, your first year in getting off the ground, starting in, it was 18. What?
Yeah, and the vehicle saver with the headlight had fallen out.
I love it. Oh my gosh! So tell us about
And
that.
he is actually showing a bio that I showed my first year in 2006.
How cool.
And
2000.
he still hasn't bought it yet.
That's
I don't want the quarters here. He went to other agents and came back to us and was like, gosh, guys, we just really like you. Yeah.
I didn't have that pre-approval letter, did you?
Oh my
Is
gosh!
she showing one of my houses? Is she showing one of my houses?
It's my
Oh my gosh! I love
I
it.
worked with my mom's boutique real estate company. It was called Oxarks, and we had, like 15 agents. Nita Jane, David Gubin, like
Oh wow!
Barbara Beaumont, like all the salty dogs,
All the OGs.
all the OGs, and they treated me like I was 4, and they were really mean. But Mom didn't give me any leads. Like she was like, "You're out on your own." You know, she's giving people in the office leads, but she wouldn't give me any because she felt like they would like go down with it. So I was sending out mailers and virtual magazines and targeting neighborhoods in Kansas City and stuff. I mean, it was horrible. I didn't make my first commission check until like almost a year. And yeah, it was a horrible closing, and I cried at it. And the title company messed up, and they had to give more money to close it. It was a nightmare. But after that, I don't know. I was kind of like, I think I was still cleaning the office. Keller Williams too.
Oh, I don't know why your mother didn't like me.
No, I didn't start cleaning the office. She didn't like you.
Your mother did not like me because I offered you a job.
Oh, that's like 2010.
I like you because you offered me one.
About that. That's so true. She wasn't very happy about it. But yeah, the market I took off like a firework into the sky, and then 2008 came around and I just lost it all. So I opened a cleaning business, started cleaning Keller Williams' office. And actually I got a lot, that's how I got a lot of my leads, cleaning houses. And then I started being like a volleyball coach. I started doing things that I like to do. And I was the Humane Society Vice President and Neighbors and Friends sponsorship. I still do that. Economic Development Board for the Chamber of Commerce. I have a problem saying no. So I joined all these things, and then I didn't show because I'm like, I don't have time for it. But I think that's how, I just get out into the community and talk. A lot of my business was built at the bar originally. So remember that little golf course bar in Kimberly City?
Yes.
I do. Yeah, I used to
I think we were raised there.
Yeah, I think so. I think we were as kids raised there. He and I grew up together. We both had boat businesses. I'm glad your roots in the community, mom and dad.
I'm glad you said that piece of it. I was in a Zoom conversation last week with some leadership folks, and somebody made the comment. They had coined the phrase "margarita lead gen," and I went, "Oh my gosh, I have that agent in our company. I know exactly who that is." That's perfect. That's a real thing. So the conversation. So Tina, what about you guys? Cranked up first year, getting started. Oh my gosh, where did that sale come from? Where did that sale come from?
Oh gosh, it's a long time ago. So Parker, we got licensed in 2003. So Parker and I are a blended family. And so basically I was 27, he was 20 or 26, and he was 22 when we started dating. Here I am, I have 2 kids, and Parker's trying to figure out what am I gonna do? He had a big marketing and sales background even up to that point. And so we got into real estate. Candace Davis, like his second mom, and talked him into that. And he will also tell you he went to the in-person class and he got 100%. I did hear it for the last.
Took me 5 times.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, you remember what I said 5 minutes ago? So, and he also started out he had a very good base to start with. And this was back in the day when at Carol Jones, we still had. The MLS book was on the counter with the printed off sheets, and then the people came into your office and looked through. So it was very, very different then. But he had a lot of good community connections as well. And so he did a lot of big deals. I mean, I think in his first year or two, he sold a theater. The closings were further apart. I don't remember. I'm not asking when the first closing was. And built something very good, and then 2008 hit. And so I think that happened to a lot of people, and agents had to decide, if they were going to try to stick through it, or if they were just going to give up and move on. We just chose, to stick through it. Wasn't easy. We lost a home. We lost investment properties. We kept doing what we knew to do, knowing that there was no instantaneous gratification from it. And I think that's where salespeople sometimes kind of get lost in their own head, is separating their marketing and their interaction from their actual sales. Getting that, it's always exciting to get that person there that's going to write a contract, but you have to still be doing all the things that are going to get that person where you have to be able to separate those. You have to be able to mentally separate those items.
That's another bus, but I love that. Okay. All right, so we're going to skip you 2.
Why?
So because they started off on this round. Yeah, so first year and first deals.
Yeah. First year was pretty much close to the crash, so we didn't know we weren't supposed to sell. People hadn't told us that. So
we were just like, we did what we did because once again, we had to make a living. And so for me, it was sphere of influence. I mean, that's who, and I'm probably the worst one to be on this panel, worse than Ann Ferguson, because I did nothing that the MREA said to do. I didn't do any systems that they said to do. Mark King used to look at me and go, I do not know how you're doing business because you go against everything that everybody has ever been taught.
Mark says that to a lot of people.
Yeah, so I should not have any money and should not have any deals, but what I did work. And so for me, it was just, once again, getting in front of those people who I knew were my friends, were my close confidants, etc., and asking them to help me start my business. So, find 2, 3, 4 people that you feel that have done deals over the years, and they invest, they do whatever, but they know real estate, and find like 4 pivotal people in your life that you can say, will you help me and support me? I wish they would have supported me financially to do it, but support me in the business and have them to be kind of your spokesperson, because they can't talk about what you've done because you haven't done anything. They can't talk about what a great agent you are because you haven't done anything. You haven't built that legacy up. So they just spoke on behalf of what they knew of me as a person. They knew I would be a hard worker. They knew I would try hard. And my very first deal came from somebody in my church. And they said, we're going to help you. Our friend wants to sell. Like, yes, great. And it was this cute little cottage on the lake, out by Big Cedar. And I was like, yeah. And got it done. And then after that first one, it seemed like every other one came so much easier after that, because then they had something to say. She helped my neighbor. She did a great job. You should hire her. And so it's really, I think, finding 4 core people, 3 or 4, that you can really have be your cheerleader, because you're going to need a cheerleader, and building those building blocks. And I will say, if you have an opportunity to go to one of the big events that Keller Williams does, whether it's family reunion, mega camp, whatever, do it once, because that will change your business. Jerry and I will both tell you that we're both big on referral business, agent to agent referrals. And so going and finding those. And so I would suggest, if you're a new agent, look at a Keller Williams office in Kansas City. Look at a Keller Williams office in St. Louis. Look at a Keller Williams office in Tulsa and Little Rock. Go through their agent rosters. Find an agent that you can reach out to be your referral partner. Chances are they've got a referral partner somewhere here already, but find one that does not, and really nurture, water that relationship, and pour into them so they'll pour into you, and they'll start sending you referrals, because that is a huge piece. 75 to 80% of our business is referrals, if not 100%.
And that piece today, for today's agent, is so much easier to cultivate than it was 10 years ago because of social media. Because you find that person, then you go stalk them on all the social media, and then you get to be friends with them, hanging out and watch their kids and their barbecues and all that stuff. It's easier to stay top of mind. Awesome. Jerry, first you.
So my first year, I actually got into real estate because I had a business. I had a medical transcription business, and I was making 6 figures. However, I was stuck in front of a computer 70 hours a week and at home alone while my kids were in school. So we sold the house, and I saw the commission check my best friend made, and I thought, I could actually go on a vacation if I sold 1 or 2 houses a year from my full-time job that didn't have any benefits. And so over the course of moving 30 days, got my license. And then the following month, actually had some friends that wanted to buy a house. So showed them a house at the closing table. Same kind of experience, although I didn't cry, but we were getting ready to sign the papers and realized that the builder had the wrong address on the house we were buying. And so the house that we had under contract was actually 5 doors down. So we had to stop the closing, go to the other house to see if they wanted to buy the other house, which was the exact same floor plan flipped. And as you guys know, when you go into a house, you can go show something and you can show the one next door and they'll love this one, hate this one, just because it's a flip floor plan. So they didn't like the one that they were under contract on. So we got it changed and we did go ahead and close that day. But it was one of those lessons learned to do as an agent, do your due diligence and make sure that you have all your documents in a row. But from there, like Karen, a lot of mine came from church. And because I'd worked for the hospital for 20 years, I had a lot of contacts at the hospital with doctors and nurses. And so my business just kind of took off. And I just had the mentality like Karen, I didn't know that the market was crashing. It's like, I just needed to work. But one lesson that I did learn was that I was chasing the paycheck so that I could, by the way, I went on 5 vacations that first year. And that's what made me decide that I wanted to sell my business and go into real estate full time. But where I wanted to go with that is I was chasing the dollar and I wasn't really building relationships. And then my wake up call was when some of my clients that I had sold to used someone else to resell their house. And it made me realize that I didn't build the relationships. And so that's when I started building relationships. And like Karen said, you know, once you go to a family reunion or a mega camp or something like that, don't go hang out with the people that you know and you see every day. Go find people that you don't know and hang out with them and get to know them because that's where you build your relationships. And honestly, that's where the referrals come from. It's from people that don't live here. And y'all, we're in a place. I mean, we get a lot of referrals here. We may not send a lot of referrals to other places, but people move here because they fall in love with Branson when they visit.
Well done. Cool. Okay. So everybody ready to get uncomfortable?
What?
Love it. So you're all right. So as I kind of predicted, we were going to end up with like the first half of this. The whole discussion was going to be sphere of influence, networking. I heard a coach describe it one time as if 3 people in your area are getting together for a fish fry, you need to be the 4th person and bring biscuits. I'm like, okay, cool. I'd rather have French fries, whatever. So let's take all that aside. So let's wipe out your sphere of influence for just a minute. Let's pick you up and set you down in another market, in another town, similar makeup, similar size, but you don't have your SOI.
On that.
Now, where are you going to start? Yeah, absolutely. Where are you going to start? Where would you start from scratch? What's the first thing you would do?
I would join a community group of some kind that I like, you know. When I started out, like my first 3 years, I'd go into listing appointments. And please don't ever talk bad about other agents. It makes me nauseous. But, you know, when you go into a listing appointment, you can say, I'll work harder than anybody else out there, you know, and just say it with like, and I did that for at least 3 years, you know. I said, you're not going to find anybody that's going to work harder than me. I guarantee you. So, yeah, I think that's what I would do though, is just join community groups and hit the bar probably again.
The cafe, the golf club.
The cafe. But yeah, I think those events are great too. Like I can't even tell you how many referral partners I have from that. And just telling somebody I like their code. You know, what brand is that? And then I got like 5 deals from her this year, you know?
Oh, you really didn't like her coat, did you?
No, actually we got all our team codes for the same thing. Yeah. But like just at the grocery store, gas station, just talk to people, you know? It's no
Glad you said that.
make people's days. You know?
Just at the gas station. That's my Trump story of if you're awake, you're lead genning. I sold a house at Casey's one day, just pumping gas next to a dude that was there. Just talked to him, had my name tag on it, did the thing where I wore my name tag upside down. And the guy said, hey, your name tag's upside down, but I think I've seen you on Facebook. I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody needs to buy or sell. And that weekend we bought a house together. So yeah. So same thing, but if you had to start from scratch and you had to do a deal this week, you would do it the same like you do at the bar, golf course, community group, something.
Just get out and meet people.
Yep. Okay.
That's what that's what I like to do. You know?
There it is.
I just like, you know, like if you're in the grocery store and you smile at somebody or they smile at you, it just, you know, it makes your day, you know? And that's why I like cleaning houses, because at the end of the day, they're like, thank you so much, you know? And that just feels good. So, but yeah, I wouldn't be like cold calling.
Really? Okay. Oh, you didn't have much use.
Parker would have completely different answers than I'll have for this, but we obviously work together, but do completely different aspects of the job. So Parker would very much be the social person in that, and more than anything, it's repetitiveness. You're going to a new community, or the same in this, where you're starting a new business in the community that you're in, is repetition. People knowing your name, people seeing you in some fashion, whether that's in person at an event, whether that's how you're marketing yourself on Facebook, Instagram, whatever platform, the platforms that you're comfortable with, is just having that recognition that eventually turns them to them knowing, hey, when I see you, I know what you do that goes with it. And being authentic as to how you do that. Also, like Ian said, those are things that she thinks that she doesn't do the way that you should, but there is no way that you should. You should authentically get yourself in front of people that you want to help, that you want them to know what you do, that you want them to know that you care about your community. And so, you know, there's a million. It's like when you get on Google Maps, there's 10 different ways to get from a destination, you know, to a start point to a destination. None of them are wrong. They're just a different route, and you just have to make your route authentic to who you are.
Okay, love it. Bill.
Saying that you have to meet people first, and however you do that's fine. I mean, I would go knock on find a subdivision that has a lot of transition. You have to have something that has moving parts. You know, you can't be done it's over 5 years. When you go knock on, I go knock on doors and meet people that way and my cards. And my sign helps too because my sign's glitch. Everybody has to look at it twice, you know.
Would you call me?
I'm not going to say
I beat you to that, remember?
Too funny. So door knocking in an area in a neighborhood that has good turnout.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. And when you knock the door, what's your message?
You know, go glitch and realtor in town now. You know, just want to see if I can real know buy or sell. If nobody else wants to buy or sell, you know, it's fun nuts.
Okay,
Love that. And I have a good response from that. So
interesting. There was one of the MREA podcasts that came out just a couple 3 weeks ago was on somebody who built a multi-million-dollar business. And he's getting elderly now, but still door knocking.
Yeah.
So door knocks every week. So most of us are terrified to do that. It's even when I go do it, I have to get out of my own head for a little bit. All right, you're okay. You got this. I'm gonna knock the door. Oh, I'm knocking left-handed. I got it. Okay, we're gonna be good.
Me, bro. That's like this one guy when we went to Big Hill at Couple Wings in Austin about it. And his name was George Peace. He goes, Bill, he thought this that money, don't have money.
Money don't got money.
So I remember that always when
Yeah, we were winding out of the meeting after week one meeting. I said, you know, I think it's just pretty simple. Got money? Don't got money.
That's freaky wise. Freaky wise. What about you?
I'm
Brand new market, right?
I actually started in brand new market. I moved here from California.
Yeah.
And wasn't an agent. Moved to West Plains and the realtor that sold us my house asked me to help him just assist with him. And that just worked into making an agent in a new town.
I felt for that once.
Yeah. And now look where you're at.
Now look what you got to do. So did you go from that to being a showing assistant and
Well, I started working for him, just like doing his bookkeeping, and pretty soon I was like selling, helping him sell, and then the broker was like, "Hey, I need some help," so I started helping the broker. And next thing I knew, I was doing all the listing and selling and everything. So I did that for several years, actually,
Wow.
taking 10% of his business. So anyway,
She's not better about
But it ended up being something I like to do. And I think the key is, like, Tina was saying, to be authentic, and like Jared was saying, you can't chase the dollar. I think what helped me the most was I didn't need the money. You know, I had other sources of revenue. So I was able to help people honestly and faithfully, whether it was in my best interest or not. I always keep their best interest in mind. And I think that's the thing that always you through, because once you've helped somebody and they realize that you could have done something or made a different decision or pushed them a different way that would have made you more money, but would have harmed them financially. Then they tell people about what a great aide you are and how helpful you are and you work hard and always return your calls. And yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. You hear that a lot from people in the public that they say, you know, wow, you actually call me back.
Or answered your phone.
Or answered your phone. And I think that's very important when people, they have so many options nowadays. So if they call you and you don't answer your phone or you don't call them back, they're going to call someone else. I mean, they probably have 10 agents at their church that they know. And so they don't, you know, they don't need you. You kind of need them. So you got to take that.
Aaron, I think it would be very tough to move you to someplace that you don't know anybody, but let's pretend that we could do that for a minute.
It's a little difficult. Well, I got my license in Arizona. I've had it for 15 years. So when I went to Arizona, I had to start from scratch there.
Yep.
Starting the new team in Marco Island, Florida. We're starting from scratch there. I'm going to take Marco Island just because it's the most recent. And so what we did is we found out what are the best restaurants that everybody's going to for lunch again, because it's consistent with me lunch. And so we went and I always leave a very good tip for the server. When I leave my tip for the server, I leave my business card because I've had a conversation with them during the lunch. You know, if it's really good service, I'm like, hey, have you ever thought of having a career in real estate? Well, yeah, I really wanted to do that. Well, great. We could pay for you to go take your class and, you know, all this. And so we picked up the possibility of 2 agents from having lunch at a couple different places there. And like I said, I always leave a good tip because if you don't leave your card because they'll never call you. And so that was being intentional. We always wanted to be intentional. And so Sean and I and Renee, we drove around looking at different areas and we picked out a couple of neighborhoods and we're like, yeah, that's a good neighborhood. Let's try to work that neighborhood. Once again, whether that's going to be a door knocking, whether it's going to be a letter introducing yourself to the community. And I was a member of Rotary. I went to whatever Rotary meeting I could that was in that area. When I moved to Arizona, I went to, they have, I think, 6 or 10 different Rotaries there. I went to every single one of them, just letting them know. And I handed my card to everybody that would take it, just so that they would have it. Of course, that was back before, you know, we started using cell phones a lot for our cards. And so it was just really about being intentional. If there's 2 words that I can leave with you today, it's be intentional. Whatever you do, whatever's authentic, be intentional in doing it. You have every opportunity to ask anybody you're with, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. If you're an introvert, you can leave your card with the server. That's an easy way that you don't even have to talk to them. Just leave your card so that they go, oh, hey, my mom. And so when I gave a card, oh yeah, my mom's getting ready to sell her house. Great, give us a call. And chances are they'll at least think of you. And it's kind of the law of averages. If you leave 10 to 20 cards, 1 out of them is probably going to call you at some point in time.
Okay, love that. Jared, brand new place. Okay.
So I'm kind of like Karen. I talk to everybody. My husband sits in a corner and says, just do your thing, because he knows that I'm going to talk to everybody no matter where we are. And I will say the same thing like Karen, when I'm out at a restaurant or wherever I'm at, I kind of look for people that, one, if they're giving good service, obviously I want to give them an opportunity to know about real estate because I feel like they deserve that. I also look for those people that are giving poor service or that, you know, they're down in the dumps or whatever, because that gives me an opportunity to ask if I can pray for something for them. And so like Karen, like when I go out to lunch or dinner or whatever with my husband, we always ask our server before we bless our meal if there's anything that we can pray for them. Some might say no, you know, because it takes them by surprise. And others might say, well, yeah, actually this. And so like Karen, Mo Anderson had actually shared something about tipping when you go out to tip, and like kind of judge the table. Like, did your waiter do a good job, bad job? 80%, like, would you give them an 80% tip? And so my husband and I kind of have this thing where we try to bless people when we're out eating. And so, based on the service, we might give them 100% tip, or my husband will just say, hey, what do you think your tips? What do you think you should get tipped tonight? And they're like, well, I don't know, whatever you feel. And we have some people say, well, I want $200. And my husband's like, well, good. And, he'll fork out the $200. But he asks the question for a reason. He does. Now, okay, if any of you serve me, we try to find those ways to bless people. So I think in a new community, if I were out in that new community, the biggest thing is to just be out in front of people. And Karen gets her card out a lot. I tend to hold on to my cards, and when I'm talking with people and I say, hey, are you thinking about buying or selling? And they're like, well, yeah, maybe 3 months down the road. Well, great. I don't have any cards with me, but can I get your name and number and I'll just put it in, and can I follow up with you in a month or two? So I get their information and put it in my system, and I'm kind of weird. So like, if it's somebody that's going to buy, I'll put their name in my phone and I'll put a B next to their name, so I know it was a buyer. If they're going to sell a house, I put their name and an S so that I know that they're a seller. So as I'm going through my database in my phone, oh yeah, I talked to this person and they were going to buy, and it reminds me who they were.
Okay. Okay, cool. So still continuing to see a theme on that and interacting with live people. Got that. All right, so I've got one more big one that I want to get to, but I want to do a lightning round. So let's try to keep these to about 2 minutes each so we can get through everything. Let's go funniest lead gen, funniest situation, funniest, quirkiest lead gen thing that ever happened to you.
I'm gonna win. Okay. My client actually, it is lead gen. So when Kim Hagan, her husband had a heart attack a couple years ago.
This is a funny story?
It is. And actually it is. So we were trying to help her with a couple things, and it was, obviously very intense for her.
Sure.
And we just had a note, basically an email that said, hey, this person might call. They said they have some crazy family. Their crazy family was from down around Cedar Creek. And they were, they came back, coming back here and get some property, their families had, and just, really keeps it reiterating on the crazy family part. So Parker calls and just leaves a message, and he does speak to Bobby and had to get some more information for him. And in the meantime, whatever happened, the full name came through to me. And I figured out that they were my cousins.
Oh,
so our family's originally from Cedar Creek. These were some of the great aunts that moved out to California. Well, the two great aunts owned an adjoining farm with two brothers, didn't speak the whole time the kids were growing up, in a very small farming town outside of Sacramento. And so the next time Parker called in, and he said, and Bobby will tell this story now, he goes, the same thing, like Parker was so professional the first time he called, and I talked to him the second time he calls, he goes, hey, what's up, cousin? And it took Bobby by surprise. He goes, what? And he's like, Tina is Boyd Collins' granddaughter. So it could not have happened again in a million years, because the funniest part is they did buy land back down in Cedar Creek. They are coming out often. We've been on 3 trips with them. We're going to Hawaii with them in January. They are so happy to have found family back there. But then I had to remind Bobby, I said, exactly what crazy family were you referring to? So couldn't happen again in a million years. And it came from something else, but that was by far the biggest blessing we've ever had in somebody else's lead generation that benefited us in a really strange circumstance.
Super cool. Super cool. Okay, who else got a
Well, I took Sweat Hogs several years ago, and
It's a class.
it's a class that you take.
Okay.
Like what they- training.
I took that 12 months years ago, and one of the guys up there said, if you I was doing that, and if you want them not to throw your letters away, do this. I promise you will read it. And so he said, take your letters out, type them out, crumple them up, make a roll on the ball, unfold them, and put a sticky note on it that says, please don't throw this away again. And so, had people telling me that you still do my trash. It's like, you know, and one day I was here, I listed a house down the street from this one house. I stopped by and said, can I put a direction sign in your yard? And he said, sure. You're the purple letter guy, aren't you?
Oh,
And he goes, obviously, just because you did that. So I listed her house and I sold another house.
too cool for
It
purple
works
letter.
because I've done it and they've called back and then, so now I'm prospecting. It works. I'm
Works for good.
Just get noticed. All right, who else gotta go?
So, those of you who know me are probably going to be shocked that I'm a little, vertically challenged. As you saw, I've been trying to get in my chair. I tried to go to the floor because I'm constantly falling. So, Ann and I were showing, a condo out of Point Royale and it had stairs and I missed a stair. You know, you're shocked. And I fell down the stairs and I'm laying there and I can't move. And so Ann's like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do? Do I need to call the ambulance? Do I need to call your mom? What do I need to do? I'm like, no, keep showing the condo. And the buyers were like, are you okay? I'm like, yes, just keep going, come back and keep looking a little while. So we kept going. They wrote an offer on the condo and they wound up sending us 10 other people within the next 60 days from that showing. She goes, oh my gosh, you just laid on the floor and you just kept going. You want to make sure we got this cut. I'm like, yeah, I'm moving.
The agent will bring the leg for you.
Yeah, she first. Yeah, she first. I love that. And you were eventually okay. It felt the truth.
But I did save the dog this morning before I think.
That's the important part. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right, Jerry.
So my funniest one actually was a phone call. It was a cold call, lead gen, and the gentleman on the other end was very belligerent, and he said, "I wish you real estate people would just quit calling me, blah blah blah." And it was just up one side and down the other. And I said, "Sir, I have the answer to your solution to keep other realtors from calling you." And he was like, "Well, what's that?" And I said, "Just hire me." He hired me. I sold him a house. He moved in, and since then I've sold 3 generations of houses to 5 other people.
Oh yeah, I love that. Cool. All right, back to you.
Well, the jacket story was going to be kind of funny because I was like tapping her at the Keller Williams thing. Like, I really love that jacket. I think it was North Face. And she's like, oh, yeah, I know. That's what it is. But, you know, this is really funny and it's kind of a hit on me, but I've had a few boyfriends. Yeah. But I've always, I'm just indecisive. But I've always stayed friends with all of them. It's a weird thing. And they
It's a little lot. I'm not gonna lie.
And last year I sold my last ex-boyfriend a house and his girlfriend a house. And my ex-husband, I had him listed. And that's like the third house. Yeah.
Now that's truly working
Yeah,
your
so-
spirit for.
Well, the way I look at it is, you know, you only live once, and you can't get along for some reason, just be a friend. You're like, we can't. You know, I did have to fire the ex-husband. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like a pretty good story.
But I got another really great story that I went on a listing appointment about 6 months ago, and I was competing against 4 agents. It was like $1.6 million or something like that in Showmount. And every single one of the agents were like, I'll reduce my commission because he was just pounding us, you know, let's do it. You know, I want to make the most money. You make too much money. And so I said, I'm not going to do it. He's like, okay. He pretty much cut the conversation off. I got my car and I said, girls, we lost that one. He calls me back like the very next day and chooses us out of everybody else going to like 2%. And so at the closing table, he looks over at me and he's like, don't you ever wonder like why I picked you? And I was like, you know what? I do, because I told him exactly like what I just told you. I was like, well, we lost that one. He's like, you're the only person that stood up for your value. And he goes, I know that if you're going to do that, then you're going to protect my money and protect me. So yeah,
That's a mic drop.
I've never had anything that gratifying happen in real estate. It was like saying,
2 weeks.
yeah, exactly. I'm getting killed out there, but
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But I can share that story now. And you guys can too, you know?
That, yeah. Well, do you want to hire a negotiator? That's
Exactly.
the question.
Yeah.
Okay, parting shot. This could go horribly wrong. This could absolutely not go the direction that I wanted to do. Welcome to live masterminding. And I already know for sure one agent on this panel that is not going to go the direction that I want this to, but that's one of the reasons.
Another mirroring.
So for new agents that don't have money for lead gen that are getting started, maybe their SOI isn't where they want it to be or they haven't had time. I preach open houses a whole bunch. And I would really love to get from each of you as our closing piece.
I gotta go.
That's the reason you're here. Because I want people to hear the real thing. Because I since you made that comment to me, by the way, I use that conversation a whole bunch in having this week in the makeup of your buyers versus people that do open houses. But let's just start with you. Let's get that one out. I'd like to know what your thoughts on going all in on open houses first year. Be honest.
If you're in Branson, sure, because you know you got some quick access to houses off the highway. You know, you're not driving 20 minutes to Shellnut or Cape Fear, but you know, open houses just don't work on the west side, and people don't show up to them unless they're agents that are hungry or neighbors that are nosy. Because who's going to drive from Wichita for an open house or Kansas City or St. Louis? We don't have a lot of local business. Our second home retirement, you know, our move up transfer. We just don't have move up transferees. People buying first homes very often.
Okay.
So I think Branson, yeah, great idea because you're going to meet people. And I have agents ask to do open houses for me all the time. I say, knock yourself out, you know. If they just don't, like a waste of money.
Okay, so a percentage of your buyers that are from where I grew up, what we call Summers Hills. Percentage of your buyers that are from somewhere else.
Oh gosh. I'll take a stab at it and say like 90%. Over there.
All right, so everybody put a pin in that for me. So rolling on down with you.
I also am not a huge fan of open houses. I do believe in cities and grid system streets and roads where you have, you know, a wonderful weekend, beautiful people are driving to and from their home to go somewhere and are able to have the access to seeing that somebody's out there. It's not that I don't think that they can't work here. They're much more difficult to make work. When Parker and I used to do them, we were very intentional about them. We spent a lot of money on them and made them something to come to and advertise them quite a bit. Now, if I think spending $500 on an open house is going to get my client more on their listing, he's like, what? Listing that directing $500, $100, whatever it is toward online marketing. No, when 98% of buyers do their property searches online, that's where the money is. We got tired of having the client dictate to us what we should do. Well, they want us to do this because they think it works. And it's politely having the conversation. If you believe it's a house that you think would get a good draw for an open house or a timing or event that's around it, great. But we're not circus monkeys. We do know what we do as agents. We are willing to try things. However, it can't always be the conversation of, well, because I did this in Wichita or Kansas City, you need to do this for me. That's where you have to decide what time is money. Money is spent on these. Where is that money best spent for your client? Not our time necessarily, but is my time doing that better spent? Now, that being said, though, new agents, if you can get a draw to a location, it's about more than just getting them to the property as well. It's getting you comfortable in houses, talking about the house that you're in to other people. So open houses can be a twofold where there is a benefit to the agent, sometimes more so than to the seller in that situation. So again, we are not opposed to, again, if somebody asks us, we're good with that. But as far as taking our time to do that and promote it, that we think that is something they should do, that's probably not the line of conversation that we would have unless it were just very like with our, we're huge in nightly rentals in Branson. Can't really, can't ever plan around those. So it, removes a lot of the listings in that. I would be more of a fan of doing like a community event in different subdivisions where you can host a community event and talk about the area, but that's just.
And that's exactly the answer that I expected from Bowie.
I don't think it
All right, Belinda.
Well, I think that, you can, as a new agent, if you're open to it, you can get clients by doing an open house, but not really from the open house itself. But from going around the neighborhood prior to the open house and letting all the neighbors know that they're gonna be an open house open, and then you get the permission of the seller to start for the neighborhood, maybe 30 minutes early, and invite everybody in the neighborhood to come 30 minutes early to be able to see their neighbor's house. Because maybe they have a family or relative or a friend they'd like to see reviewed by them. And if you go by and you visit with all the neighbors ahead of time, 2 or 3 days ahead of time, and invite them to an early showing of the house before the actual open house opens, you might pick out some clients.
So I kind of thought that would be your position too. I'm a big fan of, I get my signs out like an hour ahead of time. I like the signs, the cheap ones that you can write on with a dry erase so I can change my times. And I like to make a quick 2-block circle if there's houses around it. Do the door knock and apologize or thing. Hey guys, Don with Go Williams. Didn't need anything. Sorry. Just want to apologize. There's going to be a bunch of extra traffic. We're doing an open house for your neighbors down in 123 Main Street. By the way, here's a flyer. We love nosy neighbors. Stop by. Oh, hey, by the way, in this crazy market, we usually have buyers left over that don't get a house. One of your other neighbors were to sell their house. Who would that be? And usually from that, I'll get 2 people that'll say, well, hell, if the money was right, it might be me.
Right.
Gosh, what's that? And that starts a conversation. You know, I don't have a business card. Hang on, what's your number? Let me text you mine.
Yeah.
You know, those
That's where you're gonna get it if people not really,
that's it. It's the ancillary things to it. Okay.
And also one of the things, I like to do agent open houses myself. They used to do them all the time. And I had like 55 people at open house one time. So you gotta invite people to the open house, you have to call them, literally call them and invite them. That's how you do them there. You don't do them there any other way.
That's that old school Carol Jones days.
We just do it coming up.
every Tuesday.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But you have to show up at theirs, and you have to call the person by doors.
What we did it after the meeting too, so that you could shame everybody into going because they couldn't get out the front door before they get.
Open house, open house. Okay, Garrett.
But one thing on that is, we did one in up north of town here a little ways. And that's for agents, but these people live in the neighborhood saw that, it's activity. And they called me to list their house because of that.
People love to farm an area, do an open house, even if it's somebody else's, and then farm that neighborhood. Dig that. Karen, how about you?
Well, you're probably gonna be surprised at my answer. Not in. Open houses, I hate them. I hate them, but I would like to invite everyone to an open house next week. Yeah, we have a property called Kings Resort that if you've seen the Rower project where they took the old hotel timeshare and they redid it into nightly rental condos. We have one of those called Kings Resort on 165 in Green Mountain. And so we will be having an open house Wednesday from 4 to 6, wine and cheese to present that project. That's going to be, multiple units. What kind of wine? So,
Is that Wisconsin?
no, this is the one over at 165 in Green Mountain across from Ozark Hills Winery.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, so I hate them, but there is a time and a place for them. For example, the one we're having next Wednesday, 4 to 6. So when you do have a big project like that, it is good to have an open house for the agents to share that project, to do a soft launch of the project so that hopefully they can bring buyers to the project. It'll be, the listing will be going live. We already have the authorization to show Deb Mundell. So it's not like we're presenting this without having written authorization, just so you know.
Way to go.
Because I know she'll be, nailing us on that one. As she should. So yeah, so there is a time and a place.
She said she did a
Good job. Yeah.
She's training well. And so, yes, there's a time and a place for them. I will share, we had one on Memorial Day weekend at a house that was off of Highway 76 and 65. We had signs, balloons. Everybody's here for Memorial Day weekend. It was a block off the strip. We just knew we were going to have so many people. We had one person that was a friend of ours, and that was all that came out. And I was like, are you kidding me with this high traffic area that goes by? Lots of balloons, lots of everything. So we used to do the agent open houses when my mom would make the homemade enchiladas, and Kim Hagen would always be there because she loved my mom's enchiladas. And we get there a lot too. But quite honestly, agents are busy. We don't have time to attend open houses most of the time. And the only way you're going to get an agent there is exactly what Bill said. You've got to call them, text them, guilt them into coming. I was at yours, you got to come to mine. You know, really having that one-on-one relationship. It's what Jerry said a long time ago. It's about that relationship building. And if you have that relationship with the agents, 9 times out of 10, they will show up to you if you tell them this is really important and I need you there. They will come to bat for you. This is not open house related, but I did want to share just really quick one little story. I had a friend that was a box office manager at the old RFD TV theater. She needed help for box office for 2 weeks, and she asked me if I could do it. And I said, no, I'm too busy. And she said, I'll let you set your schedule, whatever. So I said, okay, fine. I'll give you 2 hours a day. I got 8 deals out of that 2 hour a day, $8 an hour job helping her. So when somebody asks you to do something like that, take advantage of it.
Contact's 40. More people you contact, more business you can be. All right, Jerry, finally to you. I have utterly no idea where you're going to be.
Well, I detest open houses, kind of like baby showers, in my opinion. Just not a thing that I like to do. But I will say that sometimes you have to do what you have to do. And I will say the door knocking thing for open houses absolutely works, because I did have one in a community that overturned a lot, and I door knocked for 2 hours. Out of that 2 hours, I got 11 leads. Out of that 11 leads, 5 of them kept in contact and 2 bought. So it does work to do that. But for the new agents, if you are a social media piper, like I'm not, I know an agent in Oregon that built her business around doing open houses as a new agent for other agents. And the way she made her line of business start was, hey, I'm out at 123 Main Street today. Look at this beautiful house. As she went around, we're having an open house today. Come on by. She did 3 open houses a week. She videoed every single one of them live on her social media streams, and everyone thought she was this amazing, amazing agent. And now she is a multi-million-dollar producer because of those open houses and doing them for other agents.
Wow.
I don't think anybody on this panel will turn you down if you want to do it.
Yes, that is correct. So that's a way to draw business.
Love that. Thank you so much for that. That saved me 3 minutes. So for newer folks, or for folks that I've had conversations with about open houses, a couple things I wanted you to notice from that. So Anne is a big proponent that she does not like open houses, and the comment that she made to me when I talked about it was, all of my buyers aren't from here, they're from somewhere else. And I thought, that's interesting. My other teams threw an open house a few weeks ago, going over there in West Sideville. Big signage all the way up to the main roads coming out of there. Ridiculous turnout, like crazy turnout. They had 2 agents there, and both of them were busy the whole time. It all depends. One, if you believe in it, it'll work, and if you don't, it won't. If you are chasing if you're chasing buyers from somewhere else, if you're looking for investor buyers, unless you happen to catch them in town, the open house is probably not a great place for that. But locals buy. They're sizing up, they're sizing down, they're getting on the water, getting off the water, getting in the basement, getting rid of their basement, doing all those things. And that is a good place to run onto those people. And I have agents that will do an open house and say, how was your open house? Awful. Really? Tell me about that. Only had 2 couples come through. Oh, really? What else were you doing for 3 hours on Saturday afternoon and generated 2 good leads? That's pretty good lead gen for me. But here's the big thing for that. A lot of people with new agents will say, I don't have any houses to do open houses on. After August 17th, it's gonna be way, way more complicated to do open houses on some other brand, so let's don't do that. But as I've said to most of you, how excited is anybody on this panel to go out and do an open house Saturday afternoon? None, they just can't wait. How excited would they be for you to do an open house? Love that. Please don't spend $500 on your open house. But I know, I just didn't want anybody to get that, to create that expectation. I'm cheap on open houses. I run really, really cheap open house signs, like the remarkable ones. But they're cheap lead gen. They're not super high volume, but they're very high intent. People that come through, nosy neighbors, know how to convert them, and potential buyers that come through. And I just flip and love those. And then one day you will get to where all of your business is incoming from the business you've done in the past from your SOI. And you don't have to pound the phones and pound the streets on doing open houses. And you won't like to do them then any more than you like to do them right now. And then you'll have listings that you can give for other people to do the open houses. Please do.
And saying
Oh,
that
so.
where he is saying, you know, our lead gen looks a little bit differently just because of the point we're at in business. It doesn't mean that we still don't spend time doing it. We just do it in different ways now because the clients and the questions come to us differently than they did at the beginning. But Parker, I think it's probably been maybe like 8 years ago. He had already done bold. He had already been at that time, he's been 20 years, so 8 years, so I've been in 12 years. He had done all those things. And it was a time where the market was just getting kind of busy again. And it's remembering to do the same things regardless of the market conditions, right? So a lot of times agents sit back whenever things are going great and they don't continue working on the pipeline and the marketing and the business that will then be what sustains you when that high comes down. So you have to really learn to separate that time. And it's difficult. Like Parker and I can do that because I'm the one who does that. So what I'm telling you to do is not easy for a real estate salesperson to necessarily do. And you just have to be very mindful of it because I'm the one who sits behind the computer. So it's easy for me to prioritize my time. I'm going to do this, this, and this. And I don't expect a result from what I'm doing for this hour until a year down the road or whatever that might be. I don't need the instantaneous gratification because I'm just setting groundwork. So it's just taking that little bit of time and knowing that time that you kind of cringe that you have to do it, it's not going to pay off tomorrow. I mean, it could pay off tomorrow. It could pay off with the phone call that you made. Just know you're doing it to set the groundwork that's coming down. But my point to like bold with, yes, we've all been doing this a long time. And yes, you know, we know a lot about the business, but that time that he did bold, where he actually got all the bold laws right.
Yes,
And I'm so glad somebody filmed that. I'm like, you don't remember anything I tell you. He's like, what? He was re-energized by that. So there wasn't anything new that he was taught in bold. And it doesn't have to be bold, but whatever it is, if there's nothing new that he learned. It was the reminder of why we had always done those things to get there. And it was nice for him. He was really excited to have that refresher because, you know, the market is up and down and all over the place. And when it's down, you just have to remember sitting down and pouting about it isn't going to do anything for you. Blocking off some time, working on your marketing, you know, setting a stage and doing something consistently. Consistent does not mean instantaneous. So when you choose social media platforms, and when I say be authentic, I have a friend who's with another company and she's all over Facebook but she's authentically all over Facebook. On her personal page, she puts her real estate stuff. We choose not to do that because that would not be authentic. We all know good and well that Parker isn't really on Facebook, he's on Instagram. And we post our family pictures and those type of things. Be authentic to what you're doing and then pick one of the platforms or however you do it and learn how to market yourself. Learn how to just talk a little bit about what you do, whether you choose to do that on your personal page, business page, whatever that is. Just know that what you're doing doesn't seem like it's getting you anywhere, but I can promise you everything that you are doing, if you consistently do it, will get you. It will get you there. It's just not instantaneous.
Yeah, you just have to follow up.
Make sure if you're new, make sure you find an agent in the office that you can team up with. Because when you go out of town, your phone's still gonna ring and you're still gonna need people to cover you. Make that connection now before you go anywhere. My team loves for me to travel. They're like, when's your next trip? When's your next trip? Because I guarantee you, the minute you put that suitcase in the car.
Yep.
Your deals are gonna ring, the phone's gonna go, and you're gonna be like, I don't know what to do because I'm not there. Have a plan ahead of time.
Well, Hagrid,
No
Lori's been there for
cover
us
you.
several
It's
times.
why we travel so much, just saying.
Yeah,
Prior to that, 3 years
Get
of
this
starting out
Yeah.
with Carol Jackson, we had an agent that he would always take care of his business whenever he would be out of town. And at this time, this was one of the larger agents here. And obviously roles have reversed a little bit, but it's funny because I know his company gets very mad because we still take care of his business when he's out of town. And that's 20 years. So.
Anybody else parting shots? I'm gonna close out with bold.
Another thing is, with ties of what Tina said, we always look at it, the sweat house concept, we always look for links in the chain. If something's not working right now, see what you're not doing on the link. If it's a broken link, it's not gonna work. Find what's broken, and do those things. Yeah.
And show gratitude, show gratitude to your clients.
Oh,
It's not about the money. It really isn't. When you get past that, then, and you're at that authentic place where it's just about serving, that makes the money follows.
that's one of the things that I have found getting, being blessed to get to do leadership and coaching in some places is it is amazing at the top how many really crappy people are there. How many people that I know one or two that they've been smart enough to attract some people to their teams and things and in their circle that people do like. But when you're not a nice person and you're not genuine, it's really hard to make it in this industry. So, how many of you have done bold at least once? Gotcha. Or have a partner in your business that has done bold. All right, that's
No kidding.
so. How many of you online? You can raise your hands. We just won't see it. But everybody here, how many of you had a day sometime recently in real estate where you just went, "Gosh, I have no idea what I'm doing today." Oh yeah, it's true. The solution to that wall. If you're in a spot where you're thinking like everybody keeps talking about bold and I just don't know about all that. I've done a bunch of coaching training and sitting through bold was every week of it was, oh my gosh, this is such a good piece. How can I rip this off? I've ripped off tons of that and put it in my repertoire.
Well, and right now in the market that we're getting ready to go to, the one that I see that everybody should focus on or focus some on, you teach people how to treat you.
Oh.
In this situation that we're getting ready to go in, educate yourself as to what is happening because you're going to be the one educating them. You cannot go down the road of them educating you by what they see on the news. You have to know what you're talking about, and you're teaching them how to treat you in a professional setting, not being, it means both, but you teach them by what you have absorbed and what you have found important to take the time to educate you about your business and how it's going to work in the future.
I see one up the top right corner there. Your business grows to the extent that you do. Or if you want to grow, the bold that I sat through last year, which is going to be the same batch, except the coach is the director of bold coaching. They're flying them in because we had the largest bold in the country last year. And I just think about the people that were in the room there at my table, my leadership table. There was a rainmaker there that does, I don't know what they do. 130 million a year, 150 million a year. And there were brand new agents that had one of them had just gotten their license 2 weeks before bold. And everybody walked out of there with something out of that. So if you're thinking, gosh, I just don't know where that $7.99 would come from, we've got options, we've got some scholarships, we've got ways to make that happen. Stroll in and see, catch myself or Monica. We will find a way to make that happen for you. Any parting shots? One person gets one parting shot. Please.
So bold is what it says it is. It makes you bold. And especially if you're not that person that likes to talk to other people, it challenges you. And the first time I took bold, I didn't care for it. I didn't like it, but I challenged myself at the first bold that I went to that I would do it 10 times, that I would take bold 10 times. And I have done that. I've taken it 10 times.
Wow.
And I will tell you, it changes the way you do business because the purpose of business is to fund the perfect life. Your perfect life looks different than mine or anyone else up here on this panel. And so my perfect life is I've got 9 grandkids and I want to spend as much time with them as I can. I want to leave a legacy to them that they can pass on to their kids down the road. So learn those bold laws, take bold because it will change your life.